With white pieces, our first move is not going to be too surprising. And it looks like for the, one of the first times here, we're going to get like a fianchetto setup against what we're doing. So I think I'm definitely going to play it with knight c3. And interesting. So he's not actually going for a King's Indian or anything. He's maybe even playing a hippo here. I'm not 100% sure. Let's wait and see. Yeah, it seems like he could just be playing a hippo. And indeed it is. H4 usually makes sense. And it's going to be hard for him to castle now that we have this covered. Let's go F3. Okay, so he's got his setup done. But he can't castle here. So he's going to have to do something. Yeah, he's going Queen A8. He might run out of moves here, which is a funny concept, but I'm going to go D5. Usually black plays E5 against this, but it's not forced. The goal is to see this, and then I'll play H5. And we're earning some light squares for ourselves here. Knight to G3. Okay, he's going to go here. We're definitely going to make sure to take so that it doesn't just stay 100% locked up there. Take this one. Okay, we have a great clamp on this. And when our pawns were on D5 and H5, there was no way that a black knight could access any of the D4, F4 squares in my position, whereas F5 I can access pretty easily. If we go here, there is going to be that move. For that reason, I'm wondering about A4, just to control that. Okay, so B5 actually wins a piece here. Might not expect it. He goes here. Not 100% sure that he saw that maybe he was going to lose a piece, but nevertheless, still decent. If we take Rook A8 check, you have to feel that good things are happening there, and I think we are going to win material. So if bishop takes, if we take first and then check, there's going to be Rook B8. So we got to make sure you do the move order right. Let's check first. There's no Rook B8. There is Knight B8, but now we can take, and the knight moving has exposed Bishop A4. So the move order matters. There we go. And we can trade for the rook on F8 here as well. The knight pretty much can't move. Let's get another pin going here. Rook here, we can take. We can also go back. Let's take this. Let's jump back and take that. And that bishop on G7 has to be his worst piece. And the irony is that it's the only one he's left with. Feels bad. Feels real bad. All right, let's continue. It's important to pay attention to these games, even though it's not like, even though you don't feel like you're playing the Queen's Gambit. When you play D4, you're not guaranteed to see D5. It's just not how it works. But if you play the Queen's Gambit with C4, Knight C3, then it does make sense to play against the rest of the setups like Grunfeld, Nimzo, King's Indian. Makes sense to play against them also with a similar type of setup. So I'll be sticking with these 3 moves for the most part against everything. And yeah, it looked initially like we were seeing King's Indian. I definitely recommend taking the full center. And it didn't end up happening. When I play against the hedgehog or the hippo, just any formation like this, one way of playing that I really like is, you know, h4. You prime it by getting the h-pawn up there. You try to encourage e5, and then h5 always encourages g5. And this structure is just always favorable for white. And even on the queen side, like, you're the one playing for stuff. So this is my secret sauce against the hippo. It's not like foolproof, but I'm telling you, most of the time when you push this pawn forward, they go there. And if you have this ready to go, they go there. I like it. I like it. Josh the boss. All right, definitely d4. Let's see what Josh plays. He does go for d5. So obviously we've got the Queen's Gambit here, and we get to see the Slav. Okay, let's start with knight c3. If the pawn takes, again, I'm going to go with pawn to e4. A pretty common theme when somebody plays a move like bishop to f5 that is going to work well is just the idea of queen b3. That's it. Just queen b3 in general is going to be very successful when the opponent is playing bishop f5. So let's just take here and go queen b3 and kind of see how the opponent reacts here. But yeah, bishop out immediately. My first thought is like, does queen b3 work? We could take and then go queen b3. We could also just go directly queen b3. Place knight there. Looks like a very solid move. Takes, there's going to be knight d7. So I'm actually first considering maybe bishop here as an idea. Not sure how good that would be. I kind of like it. I guess there's knight e4. We have to be a bit careful. Yeah, okay, let's take. Knight e4 is a fairly good reaction. Knight here. There's going to be a rook move next. I think at this point, it's time to just get castled. This looks a bit too greedy. Knight takes d5. I don't know if I can co-sign that. Rook here, we can go queen a6. Okay, I'm actually going to take the opportunity to go queen a6. Oh no, he's going to forget the bishop. That's tough. We had an extra pawn, and yeah, okay, he's actually just going to resign after that. Well, all I can say is that in the Queen's Gambit, when you see the bishop come out, very often queen to b3 is going to be a great move. In this case, I think queen b3 first may have also been good. Just because when I take here, if the knight moves, I also win the next pawn. So that's kind of nice. So we didn't have to take, but sometimes it's taking and then queen b3. Other times it's just queen b3. The point remains, when the bishop develops, especially to f5, but just whenever they try to develop it before playing e6, first thing I'm thinking about every single time is queen b3. And 90+% of the time, it's either going to be queen b3 immediately or takes and then queen b3, and something good will happen. That's for sure. Okay, we got the white pieces. d4, and we do get d5, so it will be a pure Queen's Gambit, and it gets taken, which means I'm taking the full center. And wow, fascinating. I have not seen this particular move before. It does not look good, but it might survive. I don't know. Like it might be okay. So no way it's going to be good, but it could be okay. I think taking here, queen h5 doesn't actually lead anywhere special. And position looks great, but I don't think that's like a knockout. So I am thinking about taking and just bringing my pieces out. Nice thing about the Queen's Gambit is like you always take this pawn back. It's just sitting there waiting. Okay, I think knight out. We want a castle as soon as possible. Black's king is fairly exposed here. d5 is actually looking really tempting because knight b4 we have queen a4 winning material. Oof. Yeah, it's hard to turn this down, I have to say. Knight b4 is so likely. These moves aren't possible. Don't pre-move that. You never know when your opponent's going to play a move like knight c6 or b5 or something random. But yeah, castling would have been fine. Basically, there's just no way Black's position is good. And yeah, he does play knight c6. When this bishop's covering this diagonal, it just can't be a good position. We want to do something here. Knight e5 and bishop f7 is actually checkmate. But there's a massive threat on the board here, which is pawn takes pawn check, and then we'll get another queen. Queen here. Yeah, like I said, pawn takes check is just... that was a huge threat in that position, and it hasn't gone anywhere, so it remains quite a big threat now. And actually, with the bishop covering f7 and the queen pinning the knight, this is actually checkmate. Strangely. I don't think it'll be a surprise that the move f5 is not going to get too much of our attention. It's just a bad move. You never want to expose this diagonal. It would be like me playing d5 and f3 for no reason, and Black just plays bishop here. It's just not comfortable. You can never castle. Also disconnecting the pawns here, so nothing really good about it. And I think d5 is a good move here, but castling, knight c3, bishop out, literally anywhere. Rook to the middle. Queen b3 is about to be a pretty good move. I just wanted to make sure I'm castled. But queen b3, staying true to that idea of, oh, when the bishop comes out, make sure to develop the queen. I think that's a good way to think of things. But I just don't really like this move when my center's hanging and things look a little suspicious. So I'd rather just get castled, but then queen b3, when we see the bishop out, same idea. Okay, d4. The Queen's Gambit, please and thank you. A lot of people take at this rating, and let's make sure we take the full center afterwards. Okay, we haven't seen this move yet, and believe me, it is a very, very main move. The reason I say it's a main move is because you might think that you should take, but I definitely don't recommend that. You also might think maybe pushing, because that's what we do against the c5 move. But no, after d5, knight f6, knight c3, b5, I'm pretty sure is a very good line for Black. So strangely against this move, we actually want to bring the knight out. And after pawn takes, we'll wait and see what's going to happen. Yeah, pawn takes. I think I'm interested in taking this one here. This is another completely fine move, but I believe the best way to play is to grab this one. So d4 is hanging here. Queen here doesn't really do much. Knight g5 comes to mind. e5 comes to mind, but honestly, nothing really seems better than just bishop there. e5 is a good move, though. e5 is a good move. I think what I might do is just castle. mainly because I'm not sure which one is better, and castling is going to be a great move regardless. But let's see here. Okay, bishop c5. Yeah, I'm definitely looking at b4. I think there's some pretty good moves that we can start playing here. Let's try b4, a little aggressive. Yeah, so this doesn't actually win, like, doesn't win the bishop here because of knight c6, but still looks like a good move. Ooh, he panicked there because knight c6 was for sure playable. Do we take? The correct move actually might be taking like this, because the bishop takes pawn to c6. So I think this one's actually correct. But hopefully you can see that our position is pretty fun to play. Like, we're castled, playing moves like b4. This is usually how you want to play this. Okay, so he can take our rook here, but surely we can... Well, to be honest, we can probably allow it, but we'll play smart, boring. Queen to f8 is nice threat here. I wish it was completely winning. It's not. Can at least repeat these. Here and here both exist. I think, yeah, queen f8 might lead to something, but let's go ahead and take all the material. Okay, let's take the rook. We can always come back to d5. There's not really any threats in our position, like to our position. Let's take here. We are threatening checkmate. It's very possible to miss playing a move like this, but he could also develop the rook. There you go, and actually end up covering it. So knight here. Let's bring the bishop in. King here does end the game. I think he played rook e8. It's a good move. I think he'll play knight c7 here. You know, he's just got to slow down and abandon the game. Yeah, okay. That's exactly what I was thinking. He was defending there. I mean, to be fair, not a great game by him, but you know, he was finding a few moves. That's okay. Even though we're just taking material there and it looked very one-sided, we still learned an important lesson in the opening here, so let's not forget it. After the move e5, there's a lot of potential moves to play, but there's only one good move here. Only one. And it is knight f3, so make sure you remember that. After takes, there's also only one good move here. For sure, you can just take this. This isn't terrible. You will win this pawn back, but it's not ideal. It really isn't. What is ideal is what we played, bishop takes c4. And you get some pretty fun positions here. For example, c5, immediately the move knight e5 is just, this is like the, it's kind of like the fried liver on steroids. Like, black doesn't have a single piece developed. I'm playing knight e5 in the center of the board. Bishop e6, immediately there's queen h5. It's winning for white. Knight h6 is dead. So the most natural c5, you're just cooked already. And knight c6 is the best move, castle, and it goes from here. White has ideas like b4, queen b3. It kind of feels like you're playing a little bit of like an Evans gambit, sort of. This pawn is like one that you can capture later on in the game. Knight d2, knight b3, bishop b2. Like, it's very hard for black to defend this pawn forever. So it often feels like the worst case is that you're going to win the pawn back. That's the worst case. And that's pretty good. You're going to have a slightly better position. So this is a line we might see a bit more of. I was surprised to see it at 600. He obviously didn't play it that great after, but at least we got to see another highly theoretical move, e5. Definitely one of the main moves against the Queen's Gambit here. Okay, we have the white pieces, which means we get to play d4, and we have another e5 player. What if I always said, I say, guys, make sure you just take that e-pawn. It is so important. Truthfully, you must capture it. Okay. Queen e7. I'm not sure we faced this exact move order so far. I don't think we have. I'm trying to think what I'd like to play against it. I might just go like the 2 knights out. Knight c3 looks pretty good here. Yeah, knight c3, knight d5. Bishop here, there's queen to b4, which might be a little annoying. So I guess let's go with this knight. I'll play this variation, which is pretty nice one. Queen has to go back. We can play like e4, bishop c4. Okay, you can play that move, but you won't be long for this world. This is another reason why the move e5 is just, it's not for 600s, that's for sure. Do not recommend. Okay, so question is, what do we do next? Yeah, I'd love to get the knight out, but even after I go there, I'm not actually threatening to move anywhere else. So move like d6 and I'm kind of stuck again. Oh. Bishop d6 is categorically not the move. Now my knight will escape. I also pick up an extra bishop as well. Okay, opponent's just going to resign. I'm really hopeful that anyone watching this series does not lose to the move e5, at least until 1300 plus. Like, people there probably have actually looked at it and know a thing or two, but I think people at 500-600 are, maybe they know like one trap and that's about it. They're pretty clueless otherwise. I know we're dealing with a 500 here, but I still feel like it's not the fact he's 500, it's that he's 500 and playing this opening, right? It's just not something I can say low-rated players should be trying at all. Wish I could fly. Okay, we see d4. I'm going to respond with the Queen's Gambit. And let me play the accepted. And let's see if we can play a variation here that I would say makes sense. So, for example, I'll try knight f6. Don't think we have seen that one yet. Knight c3. I'm going to try e5 here. Now, if the pawn goes to d5, we actually mentioned how this was a spot where we actually didn't want to be in this position as white. So I play b5. Now, of course, I could never in a million years predict the move b4. Like, that is from a different planet. So, okay, b4 is kind of crazy, but without b4, I was still saying like b5, if it gets taken, we take the center pawn. My opponent has just resigned. I can't explain that for the life of me. I was about to take e4, which, believe me, is a good move, but yeah, I have no words for that. It's just insane. Just won the game. So if we flip it for a second, previously I was saying you got to make sure that against e5, you're not playing d5, because knight f6, knight c3, b5. This is actually something which is surprisingly almost -1 for black. So even though you could, yes, do all this, black in this position can play bishop b4, and it's like you don't have knight c3, you don't have bishop d2, you got to move the king. Black castles, it's a disaster. So as black, I started with this. White could have played what I think is the best move, and almost the only move that's good, e5 here. But if you just play knight c3 carelessly, all of a sudden black plays e5 and is slightly better, surprisingly. White should play knight to f3 now and just capture it back on d4. But if they take, you take here, knight takes, drops the pawn, and king takes, drops another pawn back. Plus, we may even defend this c-pawn. Huge advantage for black already. And if you push, you walk into this, which is something we've been trying to avoid with white, which is why I was very happy to play it with black. Now, obviously, no. Could never predict that. I was about to play knight e4. Believe me, it was about to be a bad position, but the resignation is still pretty shocking. But at least it was a queen's gambit, and I decided to play the accepted to show you maybe how you're kind of supposed to play it as black. Because for the most part, we just steamroll people when we play e4. But you can see in just a couple moves, all of a sudden, we were much better with the black pieces. So you really just got to know your stuff. Okay. Let's go d4. We do play the queen's gambit here. And what is our rule? There is no pawn to recapture, so we take. It's that simple. He takes with the knight. Well, what's the reason why you always want a pawn to recapture? So that white doesn't get to do this. Look at these pawns. This is already a huge problem for black. Yes, you can go back, but we're just going to go ahead and defend these pawns here. I could push, but I feel like the knight will be able to move in there. If you think about it, this position kind of reminds me of the exact same position without this c-pawn. Like, black has basically just lost time by doing this. Okay, knight c6. I'm definitely thinking about d5 because, if knight e5, I can see that we can just keep chasing that knight around here. But another pretty good move is just going to be this. Let's think here. Yeah, I think I'll play knight f3. Just keep it real simple for now. Bishop b5 looks all right. I think we'll just castle. Knight takes d4 is a very typical trick why you can't win a pawn there. Let's go a3 because I'd like to support the center again. Now knight takes d4 is a possibility, so be careful of that one. Like this right now. That is a move. So to be a bit tricky, do we have this? I think this is pretty nice. Okay. Let's defend our pawn finally. He's gonna put the bishop there. We can maybe set up queen d3. Nope, he's gonna go bishop a6. We'll play slow. But this is, we decided not to go for a complete knockout with pawn to d5 earlier. But I happen to think that this position is extremely good. I think knight e5 might be a very good move here. Let's give it a try. Don't think he can take. Yeah, maybe. Definitely a lot of tactics have to go his way here. Okay, well, he goes knight there. That is a free queen. Let's just keep developing. His knight on e8 cannot go anywhere. Bishop on g5, pretty trapped as well. Might go bishop a4 next. Yeah, he's still kind of struggling for a move here. Let's get ready to play one of these pawn moves. And next I will play bishop a4, threatening bishop c6, and then maybe queen takes a7. Rook d8, remember, we're very happy to take that because not only is 2 rooks for a queen a good trade, but in this case, we also win the knight, and we were up material to start. So this is a pretty huge achievement. Bring our other rook in. The bishop on h6 does not exist. Yeah, I think actually I'm going to play the sadistic h4 just to fully trap that bishop. And he's walked into a checkmate in 1, so we'll go ahead and take that. GG. If you're playing a Queen's Gambit, they do not defend the center pawn. Take it immediately. Look at the benefit. Like, we're just dominating this position here. Now, black should probably play this, just because we've kind of seen this variation before. The only difference is that there's no c pawn, which is obviously very nice for white. It's a definite achievement. I would probably play like knight f3 here. So if we do not want this type of position, which is pretty good for white, there's a c pawn there usually. It's not there anymore. Huge benefit for us. But if we don't want to play this position, we just defend this pawn another way. Maybe bishop d3 in order to play knight f3 next. And we always have this discovered attack trick. If he plays knight here, we should 100% play d5. But I wanted to give you an idea what it looks like if you just kind of develop the pieces. Like, this is the type of position that you're guaranteed to get, even if you don't try to like knock the guy out immediately. If you just play normally, develop and castle, you have an incredible advantage. Now, I think knight e5 is a pretty good move, but I was also just gonna play like h3, queen d2, rook d1. You just have the center, you have jumps, you have pushes. It's really all you can ask for. And on top of that, you might have moves like this, which, you know, can kind of push this knight around. Like, everybody's in trouble here. Pieces are just they're all lacking squares. So anytime you get the full center like this, you're just super happy. And we get the white pieces. Well, that's a bit friendly. And we get e5. Well, I think you guys know you must take. That's my first rule. For the most part, I like to follow up with the bishop. Let's see. Usually people play queen here, but it's absolutely not forced. I think one of these moves, one or both, look pretty good. Let's do this. Remember, knight g6, not only do we have bishop g5, but also bishop g3. It's completely fine there. So it looks like it's going to be something like this in order to try to take that pawn. But I'm not that much of a believer. Like, I don't think we're going to lose this necessarily. And remember, if d6, that's what we're looking for the entire time. Bishop d3, maybe h4. Looking at queen d5, looking at bishop d3 as well. All the above looks pretty good. Let's go here. I assume we'll see a d6 move. That would certainly be the best looking move. And let's keep it the simplest that it can be and just capture. Thinking more long castle here. Feels like there's a few more ideas with that move. Although, absolutely nothing wrong with short castle. Okay, this one, I just see the knight's the only thing defending it, and I can take the knight. So let's start with that. If he takes here, we've got a couple things we can capture as well. And the confidence to capture with the king, of course. Bring the bishop back to safety. And knight here just doesn't really do anything because we're happy to make another trade. Play d4. Play rook over. And at least if bishop takes, we just basically trade everything there. Okay, I'll take it. Nice, and that extra knight, I think, will be the difference. I'm trying to go to f4, so let's go ahead and do that. Knight f4, knight h5, knight f6, for example. And there should be some mating nets. Good mating net to know is all you need is like a pawn here or a king plus the knight, and then rook f7 is mate. And then also if king h8, then rook h7 is checkmate. So let's see where he goes. That's mate in 1. A lot of people don't know that. And then king f8, we would just put a pawn on e6 and then deliver mate that way. There we go. GG. Yeah, at this point, I mean, we're up a clean pawn. We're maybe long castling. Short castling is very safe as well. Absolutely zero problems with our position. And what did our opponent get out of d4, e5? I'm not sure. Maybe they're not playing against the standard Queen's Gambit. That's about all I could say. Maybe that's a good thing.
Well done. You made it to the end of another episode in the Queen's Gambit speedrun. Make sure to like the video and leave a comment down below if you enjoyed. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to click that subscribe button and turn on post notifications so you never miss the next episode.